Welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, with a little Saturday night delight here. Joining me, Mr. Ro Hancock. How are you, my man?
How are we going, Nick? I'm good.
How are we going? Let's give a little bit of context early in the episode here. It's been a funny old afternoon / evening. We did have our third compadre Lee here recording earlier on. Unfortunately, just at the conclusion of that episode, we've had quite a few technical difficulties this season, which resulted in us kind of losing that episode, which, might I just say, was an absolute cracker. So unfortunately, he hasn't stuck around for the redo.
I don't blame him.
Mate, absolutely.
Absolutely. We put in our best work early, but we're getting an episode out, which we're
we're running the back-to-back here. So just shout out for everyone. Ro and I putting in the hard yards back-to-back here, recording what we just did.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I'm still feeling pretty electric. The energy is high in this room. We are determined. We are the people's champions here. Determined to get an episode out. Yes. I'd like to say it's proclaimed by the people, but it is self-proclaimed. But nevertheless, we certainly, that's what it's all about. You and I just off air, we were just talking about the words. If you haven't already checked out our episode last week with Dustin Schumacher, a.k.a. XL,
lovely
the words he said during that podcast, just about, he's never met someone who's grinded hard and hasn't won. That's what we're doing here today.
Highly inspirational.
We are stoked to be here recording, getting an episode out. Massive week in basketball, so we've got a lot to digest today, don't we, Ro?
We do, absolutely. It's our favourite time of the year, playoffs.
The playoffs. This week it's been the play-ins. We've had some incredible matchups, some really exciting tussles that have occurred throughout the week. So we're going to break down those a little bit, kind of discuss a couple of the key talking points out of them, and then look forward to what's to come. Eight very intriguing matchups for the playoffs. So certainly looking forward to doing that.
All highly unpredictable as well.
Absolutely, mate. I'm sure you and I will have a couple of debates in amongst that. We don't have our running mate Lee here to fire back at us, but I'm sure you and I can throw a few curveballs at one another.
Yep.
Guys, before we get into it, a big thank you for all the continued support on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. Quick little mention on that. Guys, you might have seen our post during the week. We're setting up, it's going to run till next Saturday. We'll announce the winner, but we are running a little giveaway.
Yeah, what do we got?
Mate, it has been a very exciting year for the Jack Jumpers, as we've alluded to numerous times. So we thought, what better way than to commemorate that by offering our listeners a very, very limited edition T-shirt here.
There we
straighten
go.
that up for the camera.
Yep.
Guys, unbelievable stuff here. As we've said, the Jack Jumpers still a hope to make the playoffs. We're offering an exclusive T-shirt there, as well as a little sample of our own Manscaped products. The old, a new product there. Which angle are we getting? Focus in there. The lip balm from Manscaped, guys. Phenomenal products there. We'll do an ad read shortly, but not only do your balls have to stay sharp, your lips do as well. Nobody likes broken, chapped lips. So, guys, it's an incredible, incredible giveaway there. Be sure, easy. It's an easy one. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel and tag 3 friends in the posts that we'll make in the next couple of days. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be on Instagram. Pretty easy one, isn't it? Easy one. A lot of our listeners are already subscribed to our YouTube, so all you have to do is tag 3 friends in the comments of those posts.
As far as giveaways go, not much easier. So,
yeah. Guys,
own a bit of history, I reckon.
It is. Own a bit of history, potentially an NBL finalist in their first season. Unbelievable scenes.
Yes.
And might I just make note, as unlike our previous giveaways, this one, we do have a lot of fans around the globe, the US, Canada. I think you and I tracked, we've expanded into 50 countries.
We might be in Zambia.
Yeah, Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide. Guys, this competition is open globally. So if you're one of our foreign listeners, please get involved. We certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Excellent. Mate, as well, before we get into it, just a couple of quick shout-outs to namely the Spotlight Sports Network, the cover, and a new one, a very exciting new one here, Pop Culture Pros. So all 3 of them across Australia and the US doing big things in helping up-and-coming content creators, podcasters, bloggers, writers, kind of express themselves. So super, super excited to be a part of those 3 networks doing big things. Be sure to check them out, guys.
Absolutely. Yep.
And without further ado, let's get into a couple of quick odds and ends.
Rightio. What do we got?
Now, these ones aren't going to be too foreign to you, seeing as we've run over them previously, Ro. But nevertheless, let's touch on a couple of quick coaching points here. Namely, Alvin Gentry. It's been announced by him It's just so funny. It's so funny, the whole Sacramento Kings. Every time we speak about them, I laugh. But Alvin Gentry and the Kings have let him know that they're going to be actively searching for a new coach, thus ending his interim role.
Yep.
Mate, how do you feel about this one?
I mean, it's a long time coming, isn't it? I'm about to put the coin in the jar, but they've been mediocre for so long. And, I think Alvin Gentry knew coming into this role as the caretaker coach that he wouldn't be there long term, unless they had a complete turnaround.
Which wasn't the case.
Which wasn't going to be the case. His days in Sacramento are numbered. But the question now is, who takes over that role in Sacramento? It's not a role that I think many coaches would be actively putting their hand up.
I agree. It's certainly, and there seems to be more and more kind of, I guess the natives are getting restless there in Sacramento. The fact is they've gone without success for so long. And the fact is at the moment, they have a decent team.
Yes.
They've got some really quality players, Sabonis, Fox, for as much as he gets bashed in the media. He's still a quality player in his own right. There is potential there, but they just need to live up to it.
I think I heard a stat throughout the week, and this said it all. I think the Seattle Supersonics have won more playoffs games in the last, was it 15 or 16 years in Sacramento? Now,
it's disgusting.
Come on.
It is disgusting when you put it that way.
Yes,
it just puts into context. Oh, we don't. It puts into context how mediocre they have been.
Yes.
Ro, what do you think, just quickly, what do you think their ceiling is next season? They get a coach who can hopefully bring a defensive identity. Could they, are they a play-in team? Are they a playoff team? If everything clicks.
Everything clicks and everything goes perfectly. I mean, they might be pushing on a playoff spot. But that is everything going to plan, which I think I don't envisage it happening. Particularly what they've done, getting rid of Tyrese Halliburton,
that's a big one.
Who I think was their way forward and their way out of the darkness. And for Tyrese Halliburton to be dished off as disrespectfully as he was, now they're sitting in an even worse position, no direction. De'Aaron Fox, I don't think De'Aaron Fox wants to be there.
I don't think anyone wants to be there.
I don't think anyone necessarily wants to be there. So
it's not a destination place. No. And the problem is, as opposed to say somewhere like Detroit, that likewise isn't a destination, franchise. They've rebuilt. They've actively tried to tank, actively tried to rebuild, and congratulations to them. And they've got Cade Cunningham for their purposes, Sadiq Bey.
Yep.
Whereas it feels as if the Kings have tried to kind of keep afloat with a poor team, and they're just middling, not going anywhere. They're not getting the draft picks. They're not getting, they're not making playoff noise at all.
No.
I would hate to be a Sacramento Kings fan. I feel like it's every first or second week we mention this, but it's going to be a long road back for them.
And I know, I mean, it's not like one of these coaches, who are looking to go to Los Angeles Lakers, for example. You go into LA, you go into a big market team.
The bright lights.
At the moment, you've got LeBron and AD there. Yep. Even if they've had a poor season, you'd probably be attracted at the idea of going there.
Well, let's segue that maybe. Sorry to cut you off. Let's segue that into the fact that Frank Vogel's time, it's been announced that his time with the Lakers is coming to an end. Do you think he could potentially be an option to take over that Kings role?
Well, yes, I do. Because I think he's still very interested in the coaching aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's a coach who, I know they had handy players in there, very handy players in the championship year, but he's a coach who, can sort of turn it around a little bit for them. There's other coaches on the market at the moment, like Quinn Snyder, who, even though he hasn't officially been fired from that Jazz spot, I mean, all signs are pointing towards him leaving.
He's walking a very, very tight rope at the moment, isn't he?
He is. And then
you wouldn't want to look down.
Guys like, no, you wouldn't. Guys like Mark Jackson as well. Yep. He's sort of up for grabs. Mark Jackson's a smart man. I don't think he's not interested in going.
If you've got half a brain, you don't want to go to Sacramento.
Absolutely not.
Potentially, I think one of the odds-on favourite for the Lakers role, Jackson there.
Yeah,
is he not?
Yeah, I think he is. Yep. I think LeBron's interested in him coming to the Lakers as well. But there's
going to be an interesting little period with the coaches.
A few handy coaches up for grabs, for sure.
Well, a very handy coach in his own right, Monty Williams. During the week, he was named as the coach of the year as voted by his peers. Now,
rightly so.
Consecutive years back-to-back for Williams there. And, credit where credit's due. He has been fantastic and really, along with Chris Paul, along with Devin Booker's kind of ascension, he has been a key cog in turning this franchise into, a perennial underachiever to one of, if not the title favourites at the moment.
Yeah, far and away.
They've got a big next month or two coming up, but, hats off to him. The way we saw clips last season as they went down to the Bucks, the respect he has gained with not only his teammates, the respect he's gained around the league. He is one of probably the most sought-after pieces, most sought-after coaches, and one of the most likable coaches within the league.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Monty Williams is obviously a highly respected coach, but he's also a highly liked coach, and he's a people person, which I think at the end of the day, I think the best coaches have that combination. If you're missing one or the other, I don't think you're going to reach your full potential as a team.
Absolutely.
But Monty Williams, well-deserved. I think Coach of the Year awards due very shortly as well.
I tell you what, they are such a well-oiled machine at the minute, and even given the kind of behind-the-scenes turmoil they had going into the season, Robert Sava there, and all the little misdemeanors and whatnot, they have really just gone about their business in such a methodical way, and the level they're playing at, I can't wait to see what they can achieve, and especially I'm kind of excited as a Lakers fan, given they're out of the running, they're gone, goodbye, see you later, done, the end.
The Lakers stink.
There we go.
Better
late than never, Stephen.
Thanks, my man. I knew it was coming. I saw you go for the button. I was like, yeah, brilliant. And rightly so.
You set me up well, but yes.
I did. They stink. So, but as now an impartial fan, a fan of the league, it's kind of exciting to actually go about this with no kind of ties to teams. There's certainly teams I'm looking at going into the playoffs I'm excited for and kind of somewhat barracking for. But I can enjoy it as a fan. And one of the teams as a fan I'm most excited for is the Phoenix Suns. It's going to be wicked.
Yeah, I think there'd be a fair few people in the same boat, to be honest, particularly if their team isn't playing in the playoffs this year. The Phoenix Suns are just one of those very likable teams.
And you know what moment, just on that likable, and I was about to use that word as well, that sticks out, that clip last season, Devin Booker, where he was kind of just soaking it all in after they just lost. Damn. And that's what he said. You could see him mouth it. You could see it all play out. And just that moment kind of made me think, that's what it means. But the look in his eyes was like, I'm going to be back here. This isn't the last time. And it kind of, for me, really got me excited to be a part of the Suns' journey.
Yep.
So big things coming there. But congratulations, nevertheless, to Monty Williams. Just quickly, quick shout out for a guy who now officially, after today's results, going to the playoffs, Trae Young.
Ice.
Ice in the veins. Trigger Trae. Yep. He has become the first player in history to lead the league in scoring and assists in not only the NBA, but also Division I college ball. Phenomenal achievement for a guy who is really, it's looking pretty likely that he's going to make an All-NBA team now. He is becoming one of the quickest rising stars in the league.
Yep.
And one of the faces of the league.
And his season's gone under the radar as well, hasn't it?
It has.
Just due to the fact that Atlanta Hawks, for the majority of the season, have been sort of down towards the bottom of the standings, or at least the bottom 8.
Yep.
And, the fact of the matter is he's had an incredible season, regardless of how Atlanta have been going.
Without a doubt.
I
tell you what, without him, they would have been in trouble this season. They kind of fell well short of everyone's expectations, ours included.
Yep.
But he has been a huge part as to why, today I think he dropped 38 points and 8 rebounds. Don't quite quote me on it, but around that mark.
Yep.
But a huge part as to why they are in the playoffs again.
He's so fun to watch. He's a guy who gets bums on seats.
He does. And we'll break down that upcoming series with the Heat soon. Looking forward to that.
Yep.
It's going to be very exciting. Mate, let's go ahead to the NBL odds and ends real quickly.
Yes.
Big news coming out from the New Zealand Breakers camp during the week, or during the last 24 hours or so.
Recent.
Yanni Wetzel, who has been an absolutely shining light for them. He has parted ways with the franchise. Will be joining the Spanish EuroLeague team, Baskonia.
Yes.
Mate, he is the 6th leading scorer in the league based on points per game, putting up 17.5 points along with 8 rebounds. Second year in the league. Came over from the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix last season.
Yep.
Big blow to the Breakers. Now, what he's doing is kind of slid under the radar for, the Breakers have had a pretty ordinary season.
Yep. Mediocre.
Yes, mediocre indeed. But He's been fantastic, and certainly hope he does well over there in the EuroLeague.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all the best to him. But at the end of the day, like, it's a huge loss for not only the Breakers, but it's a huge loss for the NBL as well.
Absolutely.
Like, he's been a more than serviceable player for New Zealand Breakers this year. And he was a guy who I thought, if he stuck around, could be like one of the faces of the league going forward.
He could well have been, and especially on that Breakers franchise, there was all the room there for him to really assert his dominance and kind of become one of those premier players in the league, which he has started to do. But, good luck to him.
Yes.
The EuroLeague, it's, arguably one of the biggest leagues in the world behind the NBA. I would make a case for the NBL. But nevertheless, we wish him all the best there. It's been a phenomenal season. Speaking of the Breakers, they went down last night to our Jack Jumpers, 88-86. So there it is. Rep it hard, Roy, on the visual there, the jumper there. Tell you what, quality make those jumpers.
How good are they?
Just a quick little...
Like, big shout out to the merchandising suppliers.
Committee there. Yeah, no, fair play. But massive win last night. Rob Lowe had a huge game for the Breakers, 27.7 rebounds. But our man, Joshy Adams, 23 points. Tell you what, this was some game, a real back and forth tussle. My heart was in my mouth. But, the Jack Jumpers got over the line late in the fourth and just kind of held on. And it keeps their finals hopes alive.
Which is the main thing.
Mate, we are about 2 hours, at the time of recording, 2 hours out from the Cairns Taipans playing the Perth Wildcats. Massive game, huge potentially playoff ramifications on the line. You and I have got our fingers crossed that the Taipans can pull off a big upset, big boil over in this one. Like, that, we are certainly in contention here for a playoff berth. First year.
Yeah, we're just knocking on the door of Perth, who... Geez, I'll tell you what, for a team with as high end talent as Perth have, to be sitting at fourth with a risk of falling out of that top four.
I thought that'd be runaway.
Yeah, so did I. I thought that'd be 1-2 spot easy.
Top three, Melbourne United, Sydney Kings. Shout out to the boys at Fifth and Dribble. I know they would love that.
Yes.
And the Illawarra Hawks, they are rock solid. They are in there. Thanks for coming. But the Wildcats and Jack Jumpers are in a real battle now. So we're going to get this one wrapped up and eagerly looking forward to seeing how that one plays out. So a couple of games to go, big things to look forward to. This time next week when we record, we'll hopefully have a little more clarity about what's going on there. The playoff picture will probably be set, and hopefully we will be singing the Jack Jumpers praises. But, guys, whatever happens from here on out, phenomenal season. So be sure to enter our competition to get a hold of that exclusive Jack Jumpers merch.
Oh, wouldn't you? Beautiful.
Mate, let's move ahead.
The Daily Dribble.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to rip through the playing results. And you and I, we're just going to say whatever comes to mind. Which games stood out, which moments stood out, any players, any performances, anything that stood out for us. And then we'll move ahead to our playoff predictions.
Lovely. Go for it.
So the first game, the play-in started with the Brooklyn Nets against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Nets are winning this one 115-108. Was followed up during the day with the Minnesota Timberwolves beating the Clippers 109-104. The Hawks then defeated the Hornets 132-103, backed up by the Pelicans defeating the Spurs 113-103. Couple of big games today. These were the games on today. Competing for that 8th spot, the Cleveland Cavaliers went down to the Atlanta Hawks 107-101. And then in what was an incredible game, the Pelicans defeated the Clippers 105-101 without Paul George, who went into COVID protocols earlier today. So a big loss there for them. But, mate, just quickly, I want to hear your thoughts on any of these moments, any of these games that stood out. It's a shame Lee's not here because in our previous episode we just recorded, we got into a massive debate. We loved it. Just in regards to the that game there with the Clippers and the Timberwolves. Now,
the Timberwolves.
Now the Timberwolves. This is unbelievable. And it's
okay. Hold on.
You take it.
Let's just preface this by saying, well done to the Timberwolves.
Well done to the Timberwolves. We are not taking anything away from what they've achieved.
Absolutely incredible achievement that they've made it into the playoffs, and particularly after being a team for so long that hasn't had much success at all, and probably since the Kevin Garnett days, which is saying something. It just feels like a lifetime ago. Now, the celebrations, Nick.
The
celebrations.
Now, you can't tell me, like, Okay.
Now,
because they've been poor for so long. So
Yeah.
you could argue that getting into the playoffs as the 8th seed or the 7th seed as it was is a job well done.
Oh, absolutely.
Which it is to a certain extent, but the absolute tomfoolery that took place after the game, Pat Bev jumping on the announcer's table, pulling off his shirt, waving it around, throwing it into the crowd, the tears, just the absolute scenes that took place.
Yes.
It was befitting of a championship win.
It was.
It was befitting of a championship win and not making it as a 7th seed.
Yeah.
And it was just highly, highly amusing because I shudder to think if by the grace of God and some miracle happens and they somehow win a championship,
how will they react?
Imagine what would happen.
Oh,
this would be off the absolute dialed like broken.
Yeah.
Like it was incredible seeing this all play out. And
Yeah. In the original episode, Lee, look,
his rebuttal was that it does mean a lot to the Timberwolves,
and it does mean a lot to the Timberwolves. At the end of the day, like they've made it into the playoffs, which is a great achievement for them after having no success. But you cannot admit that those celebrations after the game were not funny.
They were
hilarious.
They were just something else. And to be honest, that's probably one of the most over the top celebrations I've seen in a long time. Guys, if you haven't seen it, just look up on YouTube Timberwolves celebrations over the Clippers. I reckon you'll find videos upon videos of it. Tell you what, incredible game this one. They really kind of got out of jail. For Karl Anthony Towns, he had an absolute stinker, 11 points, 3 of 11 from the field, and then fouled out. It was really this one that, Paul George dropped 34 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. But it was D'Lo. 29 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and Anthony Edwards with 30 points, who really steered this ship home.
Yep.
And they were down. Once Cat fouled out, they were down, and I had it on at work, and I thought, oh, this one's over. The Clippers are on here.
Yeah.
It makes it even worse seeing as they bowed out today to the Pelicans.
Yeah.
But at that point, it seemed as if the switch kind of flipped, and they became more of a team-based offense. They weren't trying to look for Cat as much. It was kind of Edwards and Russell who did the damage, but the ball was just popping around a lot more.
Isn't it funny how that happens? You take out your main option on offense, even though they've got a few really good offensive options. Cat is the main offensive option.
Oh, he is.
And once he goes down, they sort of almost to a certain extent become a little bit more unpredictable. We're not just going to chuck it into the post to Cat. I mean, Anthony Edwards, I'm so impressed with that guy. Like
he's wicked.
He stood up.
He's
massively.
A bowler. He's so fun to watch, and he's certainly. I tell you what, in the playoffs, it is going to be wicked. So we'll talk about that matchup soon, the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies. But I tell you what, 2 young studs in Ja Morant and Anthony Edwards going up against each other.
You can't get any better than that.
Let's go. Just quickly moving ahead to other games there. Now, he's not here to defend his team, but the Hawks and Hornets. The Hawks, as I said, won that one 132 to 103. How do we feel about this? If you're a Hornets fan, you've bowed out. You've bowed out in the 19 game.
And bowed out in a bad way as well.
In pretty brutal fashion. Yeah. That third quarter, they lost 42 to 24. That was effectively game over. Have the Hornets under-delivered this season?
Well, so far this season, I've said that I was sort of expecting them to be around the 9 mark, maybe not 8, 9, 10 mark.
Yep.
And so if I'm going off that, they've probably met my personal expectations. From Lee's perspective, who's a Charlotte Hornets fan, he wasn't happy. He expected them to make the playoffs. And to be honest, I think a lot of people probably did.
With their off-season acquisitions, they brought in Oubre, they brought in, Montrezl Harrell in the trade deadline. They made some big moves here. I think they've fallen flat. I think they've fallen flat, and it's the big point. It's something we've clamored for so long now, and something they didn't address really. They brought in Harrell, but more as that bench guy. As that spark plug off the bench, should I say. They haven't addressed their centre needs enough.
It's the big issue. It's a huge issue.
There is names out in the market that have been tied to them, Probably Miles Turner being the biggest one of that.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of names out there. They really need to shore up that centre spot because, it's just not cutting it.
It's a glaring weakness. And it's
That's where they fall apart.
Going forward, it's going to continue to be the position that they're going to get found out in. It happened last year. the exact same thing happened. They got belted with the chance to make the playoffs. This year, same thing happened. You know, you at some point, if you're the Hornets, you got to learn from your mistakes. And I think over the offseason, they would have to be looking intensely.
Something has to be addressed.
Yes.
Something has to be addressed and quickly, because they're a team now that is starting to – they're kind of starting to transition out of that underdog rebuilding scene into like a Grizzlies, like a young team on the rise that should be contending to a certain extent, especially in the next year or two.
Yeah.
But, you know, if things continue the way they are, that big glaring hole, it undoes all the good work that players like Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball, Hayward, when he's playing, all the good work that they do. Because it is like it's such a crucial part of the game.
And at the end of the day, there's no point being one of these Showtime teams who, you know, can have, you know, a number of highlights on any given night. And when it comes to the important part of the season where you actually have to stand up and those highlight plays don't necessarily matter, it just counts for nothing. So, you know, I think they need to have a good hard look at themselves over this off season because they've got some really big areas to address, I think.
100%. Just quickly, a big shout out. I just want to give a shout out to a team. They went down earlier today. They went down 107 to 101. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, this is sad.
The feel-good story of this season.
Pretty sad.
Despite their loss today, they went down to the Nets the other day, in which they played without Jared Allen. He came back today, and they really were looking the business through the first two quarters, 2.5 quarters. Like, they looked awesome. The Hawks got over the top. Big second half there from Trae Young. Unbelievable. Ice in the veins. Oh. But just want to give a shout out to the Cavs because they have been nothing short of extraordinary this season. Many people's probably 15th seeded team. You know, they were contending for a big chunk of the season for home court advantage. And, you know, bar quite significant injuries to Rubio, to Garland in crucial points, Jared Allen, you know, they could have been right up there in the mix and probably deserved a guaranteed playoff spot.
I mean, we'll get to our season gradings after the season's actually fully completed. But I'll tell you what, they're going to be getting a very good mark from me. They've just overexceeded by that much. It's not funny.
So fun.
Yeah.
So fun. And it's the first time really that since without LeBron that they've been relevant. People have cared about what they're doing. They're getting eyes on. And might I just say, like, he is not only one of the best young point guards in the league, but Darius Garland, period. One of the best point guards.
He really is. He's taken his game to – it's gone through the stratosphere, really, like at the end of the day. He's gone from being a guy who was Colin Sexton or
Colin Sexton gets a flick now.
You know, Sexton or Garland. Garland just made that into an absolute joke.
Isn't it incredible that? Isn't it incredible that going into the season we were like, how are they going to coexist? Can one, you know, probably more likely Garland play that number 2 role?
Yeah. Yep.
How's it all going to fit? But Garland has absolutely taken the ball and run with it. All-star this season. You know, he's probably not going to make it, but borderline all-NBA player.
Yeah.
You know, he is phenomenal.
Oh, he's great.
He's the star of that franchise. And you put him alongside Mobley, Jared Allen, you know, even Karis LeVert now is young enough. Part of that core moving forward.
Oh, it's
so exciting.
If you're a Cavs fan, you're over the moon with this year. Just touching on Colin Sexton very quickly. Like, to think that Colin Sexton hasn't played a game this season, we don't think, even though it's not confirmed, we don't think he'll be there next year. And to think that he still provides value.
He's a huge chip for them.
Yeah, he is. So the Cavs can essentially chuck him out to other teams as a bit of bait and see what they get in return. But I think they'll get some very handy pieces or a handy piece in return to Colin Sexton.
I agree. I think his value, it's certainly not as high as it was at his peak, but there's still enough value there to, you know, pair a piece. Like, this team is pretty well-rounded. Going forward, they're pretty well-rounded. They've got a good mix of youth, quality ball handling. They've got some experience if they were to keep Rondo, to keep Kevin Love, who, I tell you what, I know it's going to be hero, you would imagine, but he's been gaining quite a lot of sixth man of the year talk, Kevin Love. He has been incredible for a guy that was pretty much actively trying to get off this team at points last season.
Well, he's trying to get off the team, but you sort of got the feeling also that his career was coming to a very quick conclusion as well.
How good has he been, though?
He's been unbelievable.
Not only his leadership, but his ability on the boards, which, you know, it's always been known he's great on that side of the game. But his stroke from outside as well.
And just his IQ. Like, his IQ as a guy who's been there, done that. Now he's with a young core and he's sort of putting that IQ to, you know, full use, isn't he? So yeah, he's been great, and the Cavs overall, even though they've bowed out, they've just had such an incredible season.
Absolutely, mate. Love it. Looking forward to seeing what they can achieve next season. Plains, I tell you what, they have been super, super exciting, but it leads us to a more exciting part of the season, the playoffs. But before that, probably something that could arguably be even more exciting.
Yes.
Our Manscaped ad read. Now, guys, as we said, we have been hooked up with some new products from Manscaped. I just want to illustrate this one here. This is the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. Unbelievable stuff. Now, can I just say, Manscaped, love what they're doing. This month is Testicular Cancer Awareness Month.
Good boy.
I got it right. I got it right, you little beauty. Now, a big part of what Manscaped does and continue to do, is focus on the balls.
Yep. On ball and the balls. Yeah.
They are on the ball and focusing on the balls. A key part, keeping grooming, keeping cleanliness, keeping the smell and appearance, everything to do with balls up to scratch.
Absolutely. Yep.
But we've changed our tune. Not only is it what's downstairs that's important, it's about what's upstairs too.
For sure.
You and I both have pretty good crops of hair here on top, don't we?
I mean,
somewhat you could argue the hairline's starting to recede somewhat.
Slightly receding, Nick, but
that's okay.
Let's go past that, yes.
But the key part is that it looks and smells great. And now with the Manscaped 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, your hair can smell and look as fresh as ours does.
How though?
Bro, that link right there, my man, just there.
Dribble20.
Just there, Dribble20, manscaped.com.au. Use our code Dribble20 to get 20% off and free shipping.
Yes.
Here you go, my man. Quick question for you.
Go for it, Nick.
Walking down the street, when you look at someone, what's the first thing you notice?
Hair.
Put it there. Put it there, my
done.
man. A lot of people say smile. A lot of people say eyes, but they are wrong.
No.
It is the hair.
You're looking at the hair.
It is looking down at the hair. Now, you and I, we spoke about off air. You and I have been getting quite a few looks from bystanders of both genders. So it's not exclusive there, but we've been getting a few looks. And each time I see someone looking at me, we're not connecting eyes.
No,
they're looking straight at the hair.
It is.
So, guys, if you want to get those looks and feel and look as fresh as we do, use that code. We keep saying it, Dribble20, manscaped.com.au. Not only can you rig yourself up with the hair products, guys, go the full kit and caboodle. Get your balls looking as fresh as ours too.
Yes.
I wish I had the flexibility to reach down and smell, because I know mine are smelling pretty funky fresh at the moment.
Yes. Oh, I cannot speak.
What do you reckon?
highly.
Bust out a couple of ribs? Isn't that the key to it?
Yeah, it is the key, but that's that's going to a far extent. But
guys,
yes,
we won't go that far. But use our code Dribble20, manscaped.com.au. Thank you for your continued support, Manscaped. Beautiful.
Good stuff.
Imagine that, busting a couple of ribs. Like,
Jeez,
aren't they one of those? Just quickly, I digress slightly, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the ribs are one of those like bones that never actually heal properly when you break them. Is that right?
Sounds about right.
I think they kind of get stronger each time. I'm pretty sure like boxers, they like do training to like break their ribs, so they like when they heal, they come back stronger each time.
We can ask Mike Tyson on next week's app, I guess.
Absolutely. There you go. How's that for a fun fact? Just quickly, one of my favorite movies. I've gone completely down the rabbit hole here.
With it.
Never Back Down.
Yep.
You seen that one?
Hugely. Yep.
And features at the moment heavily in the news. Amber Heard in a big scandal at the minute with Johnny Depp.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah,
but she's an awful human.
She's an awful human. I tell you what, I was hoping in the old Never Back Down she'd cop the old roundhouse kick to the head, but neither here nor there. Let's move ahead, Ro.
The Daily Dribble.
Oh, keep me on my
Yeah,
toes.
keep you on your toes. I didn't know if you were going to get there.
Oh,
You've done
my
well,
heart
my
dropped.
man. Beautiful. Guys, as always, everything we do, we love hearing from you guys.
Yep.
The listeners make this show.
Absolutely.
We cannot thank you enough for all your continued support. We love having debates, having, conversations with you guys out there. And this week in this segment's no different.
Yes.
We're about to rattle through our playoff predictions for the East and West. Hit us up. Hit us up on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Start a conversation with us. We'll put up some posts during the week. Let us know here where we went right, where we went wrong. Do you have our backs or are you against us on these picks?
Let us know.
We can take it. So have at us, guys. We love it. Let's get into it, though, my man. Let's get into the Western Conference. Oh, here we go. Let's start.
I mean, where do we even start? There's
start?
just too many really good matchups.
Tantalizing matchups. Let's start with the number one seed, the Phoenix Suns playing the Pelicans. Mate, we'll just chew the fat here. We'll talk about how many games you think it'll go. Who's your predicted winner for this one?
Yeah, I mean, predicted winner. Yeah, it sounds very sort of predictable, even though it's an unpredictable playoff series. But I think the Phoenix Suns in 4 for mine. You know, they're a team for the majority of the season have been the best team, and they haven't shown me anything to sort of suggest that they won't take that into the playoffs.
It's almost felt as if they've been in cruise control a little bit, hey?
They have been.
Especially the back half of the season. Once they really flexed their muscle and they put a gap between that first and second seed, as they were still winning games, but they looked just so comfortable in everything they do.
They were preserving themselves to a certain extent, but they're coming up against, now we know, the New Orleans Pelicans, who, you know, I like them offensively. Like CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram in particular are guys who I will tune into any Pelicans game to watch those two guys play.
Big time.
But I think in a playoff setting, particularly after the year that they've had, and I guess the Pelicans have just sneaked in by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
I think the Suns in 4 for mine.
Fair play to them, because they started the season 1-12, the Pelicans, and for all intensive purposes, I think like all of us and many pundits out there had written them off. Like their season was effectively over.
In all sorts of trouble.
And they were looking destined for that bottom seed in the conference. You know, hats off to them. They've made it. They are in the playoffs, and they've started to look like they could pose a threat to a couple of teams, but not the Suns.
Not the Suns.
If any other team they were coming up against, you'd expect them to maybe make it a bit of a series. I've got this one in 5. I think with that offensive talent and CJ and Ingram, Valanciunas as well, I think they're good enough to get one game. That being said, I don't think it's going to be a close series. I reckon a few of these games will be blowouts. I think the Suns will probably, you know, win the first couple and maybe take their foot off the pedal for one game, which the Pelicans will get a hold of. But I think the Suns will be too good in this one. Suns in 5 for Roy. Suns in 4.
Suns in 4.
They just look too good.
They do.
They look too good.
It would take a very ballsy person to go against the Suns in pretty much any series.
It's juicy odds. If you're a Pelicans fan, shout out to Nick Drew. I know good mate of mine. He's a big Pelicans fan.
Yes,
and he's all aboard the horse. You know, he's right there. So you know, a bit of a punter in his own right.
Yes.
I wouldn't advise getting on the Pelicans, but I hope for your sake, mate, that they do all right.
Yeah,
big stuff there. Let's move ahead to the Warriors and Nuggets. The 2 versus 6th seed there. Oh, no, 2 versus 7th, should I say. Hold on. I've lost the plot.
I think they might be
3
versus 6.
They're 3 because the Warriors were 2 for so long. I've just lost the plot there.
No.
The 3 and 6 matchup there, mate. I've got the Warriors winning this one 4-2. I just think they've got too much firepower.
Yeah.
Especially with the news coming out that it doesn't look as if Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray will return.
No.
For as good as Jokic is, potentially a back-to-back MVP. You know, when you're coming up, arguably still in the back end of their dynasty phase, like this team's too good, the Warriors, I think.
Just far too good. I think you nailed it on the head, like particularly given the fact that Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray are still out, have been for the majority, or have been, for all of this season for Jamal Murray. You know, Nikola Jokic has been heroic this season. There's no doubt about that. I'm expecting him to bring that into the playoffs against a Golden State Warriors lineup that doesn't have a solid big man who can stop him. So I'm expecting his individual performance to continue. But yeah, I think the Warriors in 6 as well.
It's so hard because his running mates are Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, you know, Bones Highland, as impressive as he's been off the bench. Like it's just not it.
You know,
it's just not it.
The thing is with that is Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins are really good defensively players. So I think Nikola Jokic's backup options, if he doesn't fire, which I'm expecting him to do, will be guarded heavily by those blokes as well. So
you let him put up 45, 12 and 11, big triple-double, 45 points. Doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
Like you're going to have to get probably another 70 points most games, 70 to 75 points out of all these other players, and it just doesn't seem likely.
And you're coming up against a Golden State Warriors squad, which I guess has gotten healthy at the right time of the year. It's been a disruptive year, fair to say, for the Golden State Warriors.
Are they being slept on? You know, as I know going into the season, I think my title favorite, they might have been my pick. So I'll have to check the tape. but a team that maybe because of injuries, they've slid down, they've slid to third, and people are almost kind of underrating how good they are.
I'll tell you what, if people are sleeping on them, they better wake up very quickly because they're going to cause havoc. I'm sort of expecting them to make the Western Conference finals this year.
To be honest, I think the key cog in that is Wiggins because
All-Star Wiggins.
All-Star Wiggins. I was about to say first-time All-Star Andrew Wiggins. Yep. Since he got the nod in that regard, he's been pretty poor, and I think a lot of what they do will rely on him. Having someone where, like, the attention's going to be on Curry, it's going to be on Clay, pull off the bench, Draymond just making the plays. Like, Wiggins is going to get his opportunities.
He will.
He's just going to make the most of them. So, very interested to see how that one plays out.
Just quickly, Nick, just before we move on, I thought I'd mention this stat because it sort of adds it adds something to this series.
Yes.
So throughout the course of the year, the Nuggets have won 3 out of 4 games against the Golden State Warriors. And for the majority of those games, I think maybe for 3 of those games, Steph Curry was playing. So it's not like that.
Yes, they've just run over the top of a weak team.
So that's interesting. I think the fact that the Nuggets have won 3 out of 4 in the regular season against the Warriors shows to me that mentally they're going to give themselves a shot.
Yeah. But so you got Warriors in 6.
Warriors in 6 still.
They're good enough for 2, aren't they? Jokic is good enough for 2. Yeah. I don't think any more, any less.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Brilliant. Let's move ahead, mate. Let's go to the Dallas Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. Just quickly, speaking to the Mavs, guys, if you haven't already checked it out, check out our episode last week. Ro and I speaking to the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dustin Schumacher, a.k.a. XL, came out with the hit song Luka Magic. Oh. Mate, he dropped some absolute pearls of wisdom. He did. Just quickly, like on a serious note, such a phenomenal human being to talk to.
Yep, great guy.
Just such a down-to-earth guy. What he's doing in the music landscape is fantastic. The insight and wisdom he passed on to us as, up-and-coming content creators, second to none.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
And, just an unreal guy. We were talking about all week what a great experience it was. So if you haven't already checked it out, guys, please go back and do so. And, check out everything he's doing. Yeah, it's awesome. We love it.
Please do.
Shout out to him. Brilliant. Mavs and Jazz.
Right. Yeah. It's tough, isn't it? Because Luka Doncic, he's been ruled out of game 1, very unlikely for game 2 as well. Yep. So, I mean, if Luka Doncic was playing, I'd probably almost have the Mavs in 4. Like,
get the brooms out.
To be perfectly honest, because I do not rate Utah and where they're at this year. Now, I'm not going to go Mavs in 4 though, because obviously Luka is out probably for the first 2. So
huge shout.
I certainly think the Jazz will get a few games under their belt. I'm still expecting the Dallas Mavericks to get over the top of them in 6. I think mentioning earlier, if the Mavs can at least take one of those first 2 games without Luka Doncic,
they get the split. That's huge.
That's a big win for them.
Yep.
And then I think the run home with Luka Doncic, they'll take those games. So
just shows how good he is, the impact he has. Dallas as well being slept on probably. Their small ball lineup, what they're doing with Brunson, Dinwiddie, who's had a massive, massive resurgence since joining from over there in Washington.
Yep.
It's been huge. So, I think Luka's that good as well to pull them to a victory. I've got it in 7. And that is just partly due to the fact that he'll be out for games 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Big series, though. A lot hinges on this for both franchises. Like the Mavs, are they ready to take that next step into, championship contender? And for the Jazz, is this the last roll of the dice? Are they ready to sing their last hurrah? And potentially, could it be Mitchell? Could it be Gobert? Could it be Quinn Snyder? Could it be 2 of the above? Well, things are set to change, I reckon, if they bow out in this first round.
I think so. I think the writing's on the wall now for the Utah Jazz. For the Dallas Mavericks, you got to take some positives out of Luka not being there. You have to have a silver lining. It's going to be interesting to see who stands up in his absence. Who's the guy in a playoff setting, big game, game or 2 if he's out for game 2.
Yep.
Who's going to be the guy who's going to step up and lead that franchise? Who do you reckon? Do you reckon Spencer Dinwiddie's got it in him? Do you think Jalen Brunson? Do you reckon it's more so a team
done by
effort?
Committee?
Yeah, done by committee.
I'm going to say I think Dinwiddie takes over the offensive part of it more so, that offensive load, and Brunson maybe facilitates a little bit more. That's a real flip of a coin, though, because, it could go either way on that front. But I think somebody needs to kind of, take that role, take that lead, have that guy, if it's down in the closing minute or two that they're going to give the ball to, he's going to get a bucket. I would say that's Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
I tell you what, going to be a fun series, this one, but Mavs, I really hope they get through. And I kind of want to see that just for the fact as well. I want to see what happens if the Jazz implode.
Yeah.
I want to see that broken up because they've just been perennial underachievers. The last couple of seasons, I had them as the number 1 seed.
Yes.
Falling so flat in the playoffs. So
I think that's where the bad blood started for you and the Utah Jazz, didn't it?
It did, mate.
It was just high expectations, fairly solid in the regular season, but when it matters,
like Philly, I gave them the number 1 seed multiple years in a row, and they fell flat too. So once I've been burned, it's hard to get back in my good graces.
Yes, indeed.
What's the expression? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. So, Jazz, shame on you.
Yeah, something
is that
like
right?
That. I don't know. It might have been the other way around, but that's okay.
That's all right. We'll go with that, mate. The last series in the Western Conference.
Yep.
The Memphis Grizzlies versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. What are your thoughts on this one? An intriguing series.
It is an intriguing series. For me, it's a good opportunity for the Memphis Grizzlies to prove that the regular season wasn't a fluke, and to be, come into the playoffs and show everyone what they've pretty much done so far this season, which is just absolutely dominate, particularly the bad teams as well.
And particularly without their star, Ja Morant, the way they've been able to carry on without him, incredible.
Oh, it has been incredible. Throughout the regular season, this one kind of shocked me a little bit, that the fact that they went even in their 4-game series, so they got 2 each this year, the Memphis Grizzlies and Timberwolves. But to me, I think the Timberwolves in this playing game that has recently finished, it's almost as if they've used their petrol tickets. Like, it's almost as if that was their goal, that was their achievement. Let's just final. Get over the top. Let's get into the playoffs. You've gotten to the playoffs now. Now you're coming up against one of the absolute gun teams in the competition.
They're going to come out all guns blazing too.
I think they will be.
I thought that as well. And that's why, I wish we had the episode up, but with Lee before, that's where our debate came from, because it just felt so over the top for what they'd achieved. And it felt like they'd almost kind of put a nail in their season, because that was it. That was the pinnacle.
Yep, we've done
it. They're done. Yep. Absolutely. So what have you got for this series? Sorry,
I think Memphis in 4 for mine.
Wait, what? Memphis in 4?
Yeah, Memphis.
Oh, damn.
4. Yep.
Did you say that before in our last episode?
I can't remember, but I think I've rethought it, and I think I'm expecting Memphis to take them out in 4.
Jesus.
I can't remember what I said in the last episode.
I know, because that's hit me like a freight train. Memphis in 4.
I might have said Timberwolves would have had 1, but no, I think Memphis in 4 now.
There you go. Well, I've gone a slightly different tune. I think this series could be quite close.
Yeah.
Likewise, I agree in the fact that it felt like a final.
Yeah.
That kind of win over the Clippers there. But I've got the Grizzlies in 7. I think they're quite like-minded teams, quite similar. They've got young stars each. You've got Anthony Edwards, you've got Ja Morant there. I just think it'll be quite an even matchup. Got it in 7, and an upset wouldn't even surprise me that greatly.
Oh.
Wow, there you go.
See, I rate
what they've done too. I think this is going to be really telling. I think, because as you said, it's a really big opportunity for the Grizzlies to flex some muscle and kind of install some fear in other teams. Because if this goes deep, even if they lose going into next year, it kind of undoes all the good work they've done over the last season or two.
It does.
So they really need to flex some muscle and assert themselves as a legitimate contender in the West.
And I'll tell you what, Memphis Grizzlies don't want to have the reputation that Utah have now of having really sort of solid regular seasons, getting into the playoffs and falling short. So I think it's a good opportunity for them to go, look.
It's a one-way ticket to find yourself on top of our shit list, isn't it? If you do that, if you perform really well in the regular season and flame out in the playoffs in 1 year, 2 years in a row, it's a surefire way to find yourself in a place you don't want to be.
No, couldn't agree more.
Mate, let's move ahead to the East. We've got some big series in that one as well. Let's start with the number 1 seed, Miami Heat against the Atlanta Hawks. Again, another fascinating series. All 8 of these matchups across the East and West. Like, if you really think about it and you kind of look through kind of rose-colored glasses, you can see it going either way. This one, though, I've got the Heat in 6. I just think they're gonna be a little bit too strong just with the top end talent they've got, but also, if you've got Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero coming off the bench, once those rotations shorten a little bit, I think they're going to be a little bit too good.
Yeah.
Take nothing away from the Hawks, though.
Yeah, you can't take anything away from the Hawks, and I don't it's a 1v8 matchup, but I don't think
doesn't feel like
I don't think the Heat would like to be versing the Atlanta Hawks, particularly with Trae Young in the form that he's in at the moment. Playoff Trae's coming out to play, and that's a scary prospect for the Miami Heat.
It's funny because 2 seasons ago, or 3 seasons, 2 or 3 seasons, 1 versus 8 matchup was like the Bucks against the Magic, and you're like, put next through that one is over.
Yeah.
And I think it was there was series like that, and you could just indefinitely say it's done. But this one as well, given what the Hawks did last season, the way they're starting to come on this season, you start to think, ooh.
This one I'm expecting the Heat to win in 6, but it shouldn't get to that point if it's a 1v8 matchup, which just goes to show that the Atlanta Hawks should be higher than that 8th seed that they finished in. So, they might give
any hope of an upset. Do you give any hope to it?
Slight bit of hope, but I think
what would it take?
It would take obviously Trae Young. That's the main guy. But the supporting cast around him as well need to stand up. It probably does hurt the fact that Clint Capella's gone down now.
Yes.
Okonkwo has so much responsibility on his shoulders from a big man perspective.
Matching up with Bam. He's young, he's athletic.
Yeah.
He can do a job, but I think Bam's just in that next tier.
Yes,
I think that quality will show out.
I think so as well. But the other thing is, I have faith that the Miami Heat core squad will show up. Even if one guy, if Jimmy has an off night shooting, there'll be other guys who will stand up. So
again, another team probably not being talked about enough. You look to the East, a lot of talk around the Celtics, around the Nets, around the Bucks, around Philly, but the Heat, they were the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
they are a good team, a good franchise. They're well organized. So don't be surprised to see them going deep.
They've been there, done that. Years ago, making all the way to the finals in the bubble. I mean, they know what it takes.
God damn, it feels like a lifetime ago.
An eternity, doesn't it?
Tell you what, a couple of years ago, in a few weeks' time, we would have been winning a chip. Lakers fans winning a chip, and now we didn't even make the play-in.
That actually must suck for you.
That's a bitter pill to swallow.
Oh, yeah.
It is. But looking forward to that series. Another series I am eagerly anticipating.
Yes.
The matchup between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Toronto Raptors.
Yep.
Ooh, what have you got for this one, mate? This is huge.
Yeah.
This is a fun. This might be probably my most eagerly anticipated series.
Me too. I'm with you. I think the odds-on favourite will probably be Philly.
I think it'd be Philly. The bookies would have Philly.
I'm going with Toronto in 7. Philadelphia for the last, I don't know how long it would have had to be, 4 to 5 years. I do not trust them come playoffs.
Facts.
I don't trust James Harden come playoffs. And
notorious underachiever.
They are, yes, he is. And then the fact that Matisse Thybulle is also out for, what's he out for? Games 3 and 4.
Yep.
And 7. And 7 if it goes there.
Oh no, 6. Sorry, should I say?
Yeah, 6, that's right.
Bad.
Yep. That's massive for mine. It's one of those things that I think I just have more faith in Toronto standing up. More often than Philly doing that series. And the other thing that we're mentioning earlier is I wonder how this series would have been panning out if they didn't make that trade for James Harden. They're looking very thin, as we mentioned.
Looking shaky with the way Harden's playing.
Looking
the way
shaky
he's settled
with him
into
playing.
This team. Who knows? He could come out and prove us wrong. Just quickly, I've got the Raptors in 7 as well.
Yep, good.
But the way he's settled in this last month or two, it's not befitting of a team that looks destined for the finals. No. And I agree. As we said before, they gave up Andre Drummond. They gave up Seth Curry. They gave up, who was the other piece?
Obviously Ben.
Ben Simmons as well. But they just look thin. They look
very
shallow,
thin.
Especially I think the big key telling point is going to be what happens when MB's off the court. When he's off the court, they are getting hammered. He's going to play probably 38 to 40 minutes a night.
Yeah.
But in those 8 to 10 minutes when he's off, who's going to keep the ship afloat?
Well, DeAndre Jordan is the backup, which he's averaged 4 points this year, and he's just not like flat out just not going to be the offensive option.
He's a locker room guy. He's almost in this phase of his career like a Udonis Haslem. He's not there for anything else but to be a locker room presence, a veteran leader, like veteran leader. He's not offering anything in terms of on-court value. So it doesn't bode well for them, especially when you've got, Precious Achua, a guy who is just out and out energy off the bench, a young guy who plays with his heart in his sleeve. They've got some really long-rangey just players. You look at OJ Anunoby, Siakam. You've got Fred VanVleet as well who can light it up. A team, just say, Gary Trent, what an absolute – I tell you what, I reckon they look the winner out of that trade with the Clippers, the Norman Powell trade.
Yeah, Jay.
Like, they look like big winners coming out of that.
Just due to the fact also that Norman Powell has been injured as well. So, far out. Gary Trent Jr.
Portland. I say the Clippers. I said Clippers because Norman's there now, but it was with Portland. Yep.
But Gary Trent, even though he can be a streaky shooter, like when he's on, they look electric. That team as a whole. Scotty Barnes. I'm interested to see how Scotty Barnes steps up in the playoffs.
Yes.
I don't think many people would have been including Scotty, expecting the Toronto Raptors to make the playoffs again so quickly.
Shout out to them, hey.
Yeah,
shout out to the Raptors, a team that we kind of dismissed. And a lot of people out there, I know I had them probably 13th, 14th seed.
Yep.
They have just gone about their business. Once they got rid of Lowry, Dragic as well, it looked as if they were set to kind of, rebuild. And no one could begrudge them for that.
No.
They are such a well-run organization. Everything they do is so just to the button. The way they've gone about winning, they just play hard every night. They're getting contributions out of everyone. And they've just kind of snuck under the radar, getting these wins, these wins. They tally up, and they've found themselves in a real position to probably get out of the first round now.
And in both of our minds, likely to get out of this first round. So
that Matisse Thybulle point is huge. So I'm really excited for this series. A lot going on there.
There is.
Hey, let's move ahead. Let's go to the Bucks and the Bulls. Probably don't need to spend too long on this one. I've got the Bucks winning 4-1. Again, similar to the Sun series there against the Pelicans, I think the Bulls are good enough for one win, but I don't think it's going to be that close a series. No. I think DeRozan, Levine, in particular DeRozan, good enough to get you one win. Good enough to get you one win, but I think the Bucks, dominant, powerhouse, just rolling at the minute. The reigning champs, Giannis. I would hate to be coming up against him at the minute.
He's unstoppable at the best of times, but against the Chicago Bulls, I think
based on the last month or two, he'll be MVP favorite. The way he's been playing,
absolutely.
God damn.
Yeah, likewise for me. Except I think get the brooms out. I think it's going to be
the brooms out.
And for anyone who thinks that the Bulls might have a chance of getting over the top of the Bucks,
stay off the damn weed.
Couldn't agree more.
Man, Apex is staying off the damn weed. Do you reckon he's backing him in, mate? We'd love to hear from you. Do you reckon they're a chance? I'm giving you one win out of sympathy almost, but I think the Bucks will flex their muscle here. They will. They are a good team.
I think even Bulls fans know it, to be honest with you.
And it's with Lonzo Ball, it's might get you another win.
Yeah,
but they're just not quite there. No. Vooch has been poor this season. They're just a little bit off the mark. They're in that kind of second to third tier, maybe second tier, but they're not in that top tier in the East. No. So, but fair play to them.
Great season.
Great season. Falling off in the tail end, but take nothing away from them. Let's go to maybe you could argue the biggest matchup in the East. The 2 seed, Boston Celtics against the 7 seed Brooklyn Nets. You wouldn't think at the start of the season we would be saying the Brooklyn Nets 7 seed, but here we are.
And I tell you what, after the Celtics start to the season, you wouldn't think we'd be saying Boston Celtics at the 2 seed.
Unbelievable there. What a second half of the season. We, for all money, had written them off.
We did.
We were bashing them every episode. Now, I take any chance I can get to kind of bash on you and bash on the Celtics.
Yes,
but it was kind of justified.
Oh, it was absolutely justified.
But what's turned it around, bro?
It's just been the defense, Nick. It's been the defense.
Huge.
Massively off the back of Marcus Smart, who personally, with my green glasses on or off, I think he's winning DPOY this year.
Just having a look. Is there a green tinge in the lenses there?
Yeah, look closely. Yeah. But I think so. Obviously, Rob Williams' injury hurts. It does.
It does.
Like we would much prefer him to be there. But you look at the Nets roster, and look, it hurts, but they don't have one of those big men at the center position that needs Rob Williams' attention.
They don't have an Ayton. They don't have a Gobert who can just monster you in there.
So in that aspect, I think, it hurts, but it's not going to be the difference. I'm taking the Celtics in 7.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go the reverse of that. I've got the Nets in 7, but I just said before, I think with Philly and Toronto series was the most eagerly anticipated. This one, I might have to change and say this one is, because this is going to be an absolute war.
Yep.
The way KD and Kyrie in particular playing at the moment, the way his efficiency is just through the roof.
Oh, massive.
It's just unbelievable, his ability from inside, his ability from outside, and the way KD is just finding players. His assists have been through the roof as of late. I tell you what, it doesn't feel as if this series is going to go less than 7. Like, this is going all the way. And this could be a real moment of ascension, I think, for Jason Tatum in particular.
Yep.
Jaylen Brown, for as good as he is, feels as if Tatum's asserted himself as that number one guy. Like, this could be one of those moments that we look back and think, okay, that's kind of the torch potentially passing.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, as well, though, because we look at KD and we look at Kyrie, and they've had their miles in the playoffs. They've done their work in the playoffs. They've got it done at the highest level. We look at Jace Tatum. We look at JB. We look at the rest of the Celtics squad, and this is their time to really get themselves into that same bracket, particularly the two superstars in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's time for them to step up. It's time. I think that the Celtics would probably be odds-on favourite, I would say. Even though it's going to be a close one, I think the Celtics would probably be the favourite. And I think they need to live up to that. I think they know that people expect them to win. So I think, it's going to be interesting.
And they need to play like it, because probably the last couple of seasons, and especially when they made those conference, was it semifinals they made or...
They did make a conference final as well.
Yeah. They were the underdogs. They were that young team on the rise, but now they're established. This team they've been at it the last few years. As you said, they need to start living up and looking like winners and not playing to that underdog card.
No.
So I agree with you there wholeheartedly. Tell you what, this is going to be some series. Some series. I tell you what. I mean, so you got Celtics in 7. I got Nets in 7. It's going 7, though, isn't it? It is going 7.
It has to go 7, or else it's going to be a disappointment. Let's be honest.
Bodes well for all the other franchises out there, though, given that this is probably going to go deep. It's going to be physical. It's going to be playing for every possession. The Bucks probably going to, we think, take pretty light work of the Bulls there. These playoff games, the miles add up. So deep in these playoff series, and then second, third round. Could come into play there. So whichever team comes out of this one, they're probably going to be not at 100%.
So just to confirm, though, Nick, you don't think there will be any sweeps in the playoffs in the first round this year?
No.
Yeah, well, that just goes to show how.
Now you say, as you say it, I'm like, ooh. But I don't.
I mean, it's not a ridiculous thing to say. But in saying that, it's just one of those things that most playoff series. There is at least one sweep.
Yeah, I think that's how good the teams are.
Yeah.
Even the lower teams, so it's 7, 8 seeds. It's, as we said, stupid to think that the 7th seed is the Brooklyn Nets, who went in as the championship favourites pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
But I think even, your Pelicans, they're good enough to jag a game here or there.
Yeah.
The Bulls against the Bucks.
There's no Orlando Magics. There's no Detroit. Yes.
It's going to be fun, though, guys. I tell you what, as we said, this is the most exciting time of the year to be a basketball fan. The playing phenomenal.
Yes.
Playoffs, though, dial it up again. Dial it up. Call up Dodo. Dial it up again. It's going to be phenomenal. We've got 8 massive series in store. As we said, with those predictions, guys, hit us up. Let us know where we went right, where we went wrong. Please. Especially our man Apex. I know he's going to have something to say about that with the Bulls there. But, guys, we love it. Big stuff coming this week. Be sure to stay up to date with all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. We're going to keep the action flowing. We're going to keep the updates flowing. As we said, big week, NBA, NBL playoffs just around the corner as well. Key thing, though, That code right there, down in the link, in the bio, Dribble20. What do you get, Roy?
20% off, free shipping. You can't really ask for more, can you?
Manscaped.com.au. Guys, we look forward to talking to you next week. Till then, enjoy the playoffs. Love you, bye.